Welcome to the second panel of JazZ Talks, Go to Market. I'm very pleased to present you our speakers. Ruth Koleva, you already know her very well.
Thank you.
Noam, Nani, Vazana.
Hello.
And Lynn Dewitte. And our moderator, Arlette Hovinga. You can read more about them in our festival booklet anyway, so I won't waste more time to present them. I think we slightly jumping from the how to showcase to go to market very naturally. So I'm giving the word to Arlette to start with the speakers, and I wish you successful and fruitful work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Big up for you, by the way, as well. Thanks for having us, for all of us. My name's Arlette. I'm an international PR manager and publicist, and I would like to give the floor to our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves to you before we dive deeper into the importance of all of the skills and other needs and do's and don'ts of actually bringing your music into a larger audience. Lynn, please.
Yes, thank you, Arlette. My name is Lynn Dewitte. I come from Belgium, Brussels. And I've been a booking agent and manager since, I would say, approximately 7 years. Mainly working with all the artists that we put into this label of world music, which is difficult to define, but anyway, it's a sector with a lot of people gathering around, so I will use it. And I'm also, more recently, the artistic director of a festival in Brussels called Brussels Jazz Weekend. And here I will mainly speak as an agent perspective to give some insights. So I'll try to give some insights to this wide subject of go-to-market.
Hi everyone, my name is Nani. I'm an artist, a musician. I'm based in the Netherlands, originally from Israel. I'm a performing artist. I tour internationally, and I also have an online music academy that helps musicians break into the international markets. It's called Why DIY Music.
Ruth?
Yeah, that's it.
Hi everyone, I'm Ruth. I'm from Sofia. I'm local. I have been an artist for almost 20 years, which now when I say the number, it sounds a lot, but it seems like it was yesterday when everything started. So for the last couple of years, I kind of stepped back from doing music that much, and I moved more into the business side. I work for one of the biggest music companies in China. It's called Kanjian. I run a festival here in Sofia, which is called SoAlive Festival. We just had our 3rd edition 2 weeks ago. We also have a music conference, which is called SoAlive, which is in October of this year. And what else? Yeah, we just founded the first music association for independent producers, self-releasing labels, artists, which is called ANMIP. And I also manage an artist, which is, her name is Vian. She's 19 years old. I've been working with her since maybe around 2 years. And I'm very, very glad and happy to be able to contribute to, in a way, developing our country and territory. Because things like this, what we are right now, has not been happening, at all for many, many years. And just recently, things started to move. And I'm very proud and very happy that all of you are here right now. So you can see what we actually are, because the Balkans in general are so-called emerging, developing territories. But we do have a lot to offer. So I want to welcome you and thank you for being here.
Thanks. Start the audience tape. Thanks. So it sounds like we have a lot of different perspectives in this room and on this stage right now, what it means to be an artist, but also what us behind the scenes folk are really looking for when we're looking for new artists to program, to coach, to manage, to work with, to promote. Lynn, you as an agent, how does that work? Like, I think that a lot of people in this room struggle with that exact question. How do I get signed by an agency so I don't have to spend hours trying to book my own gigs? What are the things that you look for? Is just being an awesome artist, I make really good music, like, is that enough?
Well, it's definitely not enough.
Aw.
Yeah, I would say that obviously the first thing, I receive a lot of application from artists, and when I have to decide with who I'm going to work, there is the first thing, which is obviously the artistic side, and quality is a prerequisite. But more specifically, I would say that I really ask myself, what is specific about this project? What makes it special? It might be a weird question, or maybe not easy to answer for artists, but you really need to think, okay, what possibilities I see in this project, and what can I bring to this artist and to its career? So you need to, when I speak about what distinguishes the band, it's really important because it's what gives the ground to the opportunities you will be able to find. So I guess it's difficult for an artist to define this. So I would say maybe a starting point is what kind of musical scene or scenes I connect to or I feel related to, and try to know about the other artists in these scenes, what is going on in it, and then going back to your own approach, how would you translate it into intentions and words, what you do?
So it sounds like it has to be a good match between the artist and your personal network and what you can offer each other.
Yes, definitely.
And then there has to be some sort of personal factor. Do you have to like each other? Do you have to be besties? Or?
Well, it also depends if we are speaking about booking or management, because for management there is definitely a more close relation, and you really need to connect with the artist. So it's not that you have to be besties, or it can be. It's also nice, but in a way you need to connect. If you're a booking agent, also with the music certainly, and with the person too, but a bit less. But that's maybe something good also to know is when you are looking for a booking agent, you should really do your research about the other bands. Look at the agenda. See, would I like to play in the same venues, same festivals as the other bands? What are the values, the genres, the bands this agent is working with, and do I relate to that?
I think that's all very valuable advice, actually. That's a lot to process, though, I think. So, but Ruth, from a festival perspective, as a promoter, are your requirements sort of the same, or are you looking for something completely different? If artists are approaching you to play...
They approach us all the time.
Oh, I bet you have a ton of really great friends. We all do.
I didn't quite realize the amount of people reaching out. And I was like, oh my God, I never stood a chance, when I was in the other capacity. Because, we've all been like sending cold emails, from an artist perspective, at least that was what I was doing at some point when I was young. I was like, probably I found the right email. I'm going to get the gig.
Stalk them forever.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that way at all. It actually started, like, things for me changed when I created added value to my music, also in this capacity, which is kind of funny because I was doing the same music before. But that's another topic. I do open all emails, to be honest, because I'm trying to put myself in the position of the artist, and that's kind of a different story when you are an artist and a promoter than if you're just a promoter, because when you're in the promoter capacity, you are actively trying to like focus on your targets. So it's like, is this going to sell us tickets? Is this good for our program? Is it too much, cost? Or it's just so many things that it's not just the decision of, yeah, this is great. I really want it. Yeah, you might really want it, but you might just have like one slot, where you can fill in 10 bands that you really, really want. But I did end up booking a few bands in this, in this kind of a cold call way, this year. One of them was a Ukrainian band which actually opened our festival. They were really cool, really sweet, and I really liked their music, so I really tried to pull it off to make it happen. But generally speaking, it's very hard to do anything without having, you know, an agent or having the connections. Sometimes you kind of might not even need an agent. Like Ronnie Size, who is playing on the second night of our festival, he doesn't have an agent and he doesn't have a manager. He's doing everything himself, which I'm like, how are you managing with all that? And then taxes, and then, you know, making music. He was like, I don't know how I'm doing. I'll know in the end of the year. And I'm like, okay, man, good luck with that. But, you know, it is a matter of a combination of a lot of things. And even looking at the perspective of when I was, you know, starting to do music, I did not realize, and I still in many ways do not comprehend all of the ever-changing aspects that you need to be aware, that you need to know to make anything kind of, you know, work, especially if you're talking about going outside of your country.
Yeah.
And all
Well,
that.
I mean, you're both mentioning networking and knowing people, and obviously we're in a great place to rub some elbows here, so good start.
By the
but
way,
what about
yeah.
an online following? I mean, Nani, obviously you have a lot of experience with this. You teach courses and like beating the algorithm for musicians. Have you seen musicians like get better gigs because of an increased following? Is there like a correlation for you?
Well, I believe that there is some consideration to the aspect of social media in terms of programming, but I don't think it's the main factor. So using social media is mainly to support your fan base and create perhaps outreach for getting new fans. But in terms of programming or getting booked as an artist, but also for myself and what I teach to my students, is that they really have to go to networking events and meet people one-on-one, because you cannot replace the personal relationship and the intermediacy that happens, you know, on a personal level. Some people find me on social media. So like I get like a day before yesterday, I got an invitation for a concert in London because somebody found me on Instagram. But that happens maybe once or twice a year. It doesn't happen. It does not fill out the agenda that I have of 60 concerts per year. So I would put the emphasis on playing and then do social media to support that. Yeah.
So playing, networking, and then social media presence. Ruth, do you agree with that? Do you book a band that has like 2 likes? Or does that not matter to you?
It's incredibly difficult. You know, it depends on the event, of course. If because we're in a way talking about world music, but I'm not, like, my main genres are not world music, even though we do integrate world music within our program. So it is incredibly important to have numbers. And I'm not saying this from the programmer perspective. I'm saying this from the artist experience that I have. Everybody looks at the numbers, really. That's what they do. And I can tell you for a fact, in the last couple of years, especially like this year at South by Southwest, the most populated shows were of the so-called TikTok artists. You know, they are not, I wouldn't want to generalize and say they're not real artists, but they are famous because they're TikTokers, and then they make music. And they were, like, the line was from here to Vienna, you know, literally. You cannot get into a show to watch somebody who I cannot say their name because I'm not on TikTok, to be honest, that much. So it's how the business works generally. To me, it doesn't quite matter for what I like and what I listen to and what I want to get to be on my event. But if I want to, you know, make ends meet, and especially when you're from a country like Bulgaria and there's no, like, we do not have abundance of funding or money, and our tickets prices are low, and then, you know, artist fees are high, so we got to make this work. You know, it's just about making it happen. So you cannot just make a program with just, you know, not considering the factors of the numbers, and that's how it is.
Lynn, does it work the same for like signing an artist for as a booking agent, but also as a manager? Can I get a manager if I have 2 likes?
No, I think, yeah, I mean...
A girl can dream, okay?
Maybe. Not me, I think. No, but I think it's really important that each actor understand the other's perspective. And that's true. You cannot say as a musician, okay, I do great music, and then the rest will follow, and my agent will do everything. I mean, you cannot start from scratch and think that someone will build a career with it. So you need to when you approach an agent, you need to have a small path before, like play your music live, even if it's small gigs first, having your social media active, build a community around you that follows you, and then we can start something. But if you have nothing to start, it's really hard. I mean, this is already profession that you do because you believe in it, but it's not that you're, except if you're, I don't know, the agent of Burna Boy, maybe you have a lot of money, but the rest of us, we don't. So you cannot start from scratch. And also, I think for a festival, you are responsible to bring the audience to the concert, so you need elements that you can rely on to do it. If you have a big name, it's already doing something, but if not, you need good promotion, so good photo, good presentation text, good video, and if you don't have this, it's really difficult to do your job correctly.
And to actually sell someone. But so if I have one, but I released a really good debut album. I have this conversation with artists all the time. I put so much time and love and attention and money into it, so the world should give me time and love and attention back. This is obviously not how it works, but if I feel this way and I come to you, what is your well-meant advice to me?
Well, I think, as I said, everyone has its the perspective, which is different, and the artist comes with the music, and the agent is supposed to be the link between the promoters and the artist. But you need to be together. It's a collaboration. You cannot come with the music and say, okay, my part is done, and then you do the rest. You have to be conscious about all the other steps that are making it possible, and you work together with the agent to get this. So it means
to build something.
And to build something. So that's why it's always difficult for artists to understand. I mean, for several, to understand that social media is important, for example, or that you have to build on the music. You cannot just have good music and think it will just come.
Magically happen for you.
May I say something in regards to social media? I do think the social media is important. However, in terms of bringing people to, audiences into your concerts to buy tickets, the relationship will be way more exuberant and relevant if you actually have them on your newsletter rather than on your social media, because people that, take your contact from social media, they don't necessarily have the same attention span as coming to a gig. But the people who open my newsletter are the people who are going to buy the merch and they're going to come to the concerts. So if I just post something on social media, it doesn't necessarily, or even make an event on Facebook, it doesn't necessarily mean that people will come. Because
but I think it's all different parts that you need to do everything.
You need
the newsletter, you need the networking, you need the social media, you need the good music, you need the good photo. All these are small parts that put together can be strong.
I agree with you.
Together they're the full course meal, but you can't only have the potatoes.
If your phone rings, you got to buy a CD, guys. Just saying.
And a book, by the way.
She's a great salesman, by the way. I've noticed this for a couple of times we've met. She's great at that. So. And you got to be a great salesperson, just so you know.
Absolutely. By the way, you can sign up to all of our newsletters later if you want. So, Anyway, jokes aside, Lynn, you mentioned approaching promoters earlier. Ruth, you also talked about this. I would like to hear from all of you, actually. How do you do that? How do you write a good email rather than just saying, hi, I am musician A. I would like to be famous. I would like to play at your festival because I'm a really good fit. Ruth, how do I approach you?
It's very kind of personal. So the first thing is that you don't write a generic email. You don't get a database of 200 emails and put them on BCC and send you gotta make it personal. Say, hi Ruth, how's Sofia? How's the weather? How was your last, just try to, or whoever you're writing to, just try to make it personal so the person who's reading is okay, this is not the 110th email generic that I'm getting today. Next, it's important to highlight what it is currently that the artist or you are doing. So I have a new EP. This is the highlights. We're releasing this and that. ad numbers, yes, it matters, or something that is a highlight. So, renowned showcase performance, or you're getting played on KCRW, or you're being featured on some New Music Friday on Spotify. Something that is a marketing driver. So the person who's seeing it can kind of get an idea before they start clicking a link. They're like, okay, this is okay. I can see where this is in the whole music picture. Then never send attachments. Please don't do that, because there's not, internal space in people's emails, especially if you're sending me a 3 gigabyte concert video. This is not happening. So stack everything up. But the best thing is to do like a one page EPK, like a short presentation, have the picture, have the bio, have the highlights, a little bit of info, what you're following, that also helps. And then a good performance. Like that's what we kind of, all of us want to see. We want to see you live and want to hear your music. Don't add too much info, but also don't add just one thing. Like just try to make it look like internet. Google is your friend. You can find all of this information on there and see the proper examples. But I'm just trying to tell you what will make your chance better to get person's attention. And of course, if you can get a reference, if you say, "Hi, I know you through someone
we met at,"
that is also, that helps.
Yeah. Nani, you said you have 60 shows a year.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yes.
Nice one. So how do you approach this?
I go to a lot of conferences and I meet people one-on-one. So this is the main factor for me to book gigs. It's to actually make meaningful relationships with programmers. And I never regard this kind of relationship as transactional. I would never come to a conference and say, hey, you should book me for a gig. Oh, hey, there's my iPad. Look at what I'm doing.
We're musicians, not telemarketers. Yes, exactly. I want everyone in this room to really consider that for a minute.
It's it's sensitive. Like so many people here get jumped, and I have a lot of programmer friends that tell me horror stories, and I also look at other musicians as they jump at my friends in the middle of our conversations, and I'm like, seriously? So then I would say never do that, and just be human and keep to whatever comes naturally to you, because I'm not, well, maybe I look like an extrovert on stage, but I'm personally very introvert. So I would always, if I go to a party, I would just sit in the corner and then have 3 one-on-one talks with people. And that will be the end of the evenings. But probably I would have a drink with all 3 of them at some point later. And that's what I would do in a conference too. I would naturally speak to people who are as quiet as me and not try to be the center of attention. And I play to my strength. And then afterwards, I would follow up on that contact and say, hey, by the way, I noticed, I like helping people, so I was like, hey, I noticed that this might be useful for you. So I would follow up with an email saying, what do you think about that? Or is that something that would interest you? Not necessarily mentioning myself. And by listening to the other person first, and by maybe catering to their emotions or to their needs first, you're actually making a friend, and maybe 3 years down the line, you would also work together, and it will become meaningful, and it will become sustainable. So that's my recommendation in general.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I could not agree. I mean, I think that this is definitely not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is something that you're going to have to embrace, and if you don't have the endurance, then I may have bad news for you.
Yeah, I seriously have musicians approaching me for advice, and they say, I've tried so long, and now I need somebody to do it for me. And it's how long have you tried? And they would say,
I started Tuesday last week. Come on.
I tried for a whole year. I was like, guys, this is not a year experience. You have to think 10 years ahead.
Yeah,
I've been doing this for 20 years.
I would also add that
yeah.
all the efforts that you make without being sure it's the right pick is useless. So it's better to contact less people, but do it well. Know who you are talking to, and that it fits with what you do. Because if not, then...
Yeah, and also that's what I was going to ask you, actually. I think that there is a very human factor to all of this. Nani, you mentioned that, basically conferences, this one is cute and tidy and small and accessible, and it's wonderful.
Totally.
But JazZ Ahead is a zoo, and I'm not even sure if I'm the circus animal or not if I walk around there, and it's immensely taxing. I think that it's really important for musicians to realize, all of you and myself included, we do get jumped all the time. There's a friend of mine who's he runs a club in Germany, and he always says, there's a snake of people behind me all the time. I've been trying to get him to do a flash mob at JazZ Ahead. No luck so far, but it is emotionally taxing, it is intense, and at the same time, you're all saying it's about this emotional and personal connection.
Yes.
Lynn, how do you make this connection? Do you just meet someone and then within the next 10 seconds you know that you're a good fit and you vibe, or how does it work for you?
You mean with the artists?
Yeah.
As an agent?
If you meet someone at a conference or at a gig?
Well, difficult to answer. I would say it's a question of scale. The artists, when you talk about, for example, all these artists being behind promoters, a lot of them are not ready for example, the festival they are targeting. And I doubt that as a musician which is starting, you can just go to Montreux Jazz Festival and be picked. I mean, it's step by step. So first you need to have a strategy on your own country, and then, as I said, do some small gigs, practice your music, build a community, and then you will get maybe an agent who is like, oh, this music is interesting, and this group is starting to build something around the project, and we can work together because they understand what are the different steps, and then afterwards maybe you can get gigs outside and plan a release that is promoted in other countries, and then you have quotes from magazines and everything, and you can maybe add it to your emails or to your contact to the promoters, and then it comes like this. It's never like, okay, I will just, as a musician, this is the promoter of this big festival, I will just go and it will work. I mean, even if we all are passionate about music and we will listen to the music that we receive, it's really difficult to build it that way. So, but I work a lot with Belgian artists, so it's difficult to answer it on an agent perspective because I already know, I mean, most of them.
Right.
So, yeah.
Ruth, how does that work for you? Do you have to have some sort of like positive vibe with someone, or?
Just to start off, like what Lynn was saying is not applicable here in the whole region because we practically do not have like agents, managers. Like that's it's kind of a rare thing.
Right.
So artists are very massively on their own. Really, that's like how things work. And we are also not we're not there yet. Like even if you gather all, like you have all the highlights, you have magazine covers and radio airplay and top played song for the year, and you send it to an agent in Poland, they don't really care. Like it's not applicable. That's why our market should be viewed in a different way of how to escalate the process, like how to move the process. For me, to answer your question, yes, it is. I need to have a personal kind of feeling with the artist if I want to work with them. I've been asked in the last maybe 5-6 years to work with, to manage or help a lot of bands because here we, as you know, what I just said, we have a problem where there's not really much. Also, we don't have really, labels. There's a monopoly in some way, in some parts of the music business here. So, artists prefer to trust artists, and that's understandable. But first of all, I do not have the capacity to take a lot of people. And second, I really want to like the person, not just their music, to be able to make it work. That's my approach, and I like it because I know that this can get really, really stressful, and I've been with the band for 12, 13 years, and I know that when, shit hits the fan, if you don't get along with the people, it can get terrible. Like it can become a nightmare. So you don't want that. And when you work with an artist, and if you see like a long prospect ahead of you, you got to know that yes, I can be with this person because you will have to go through some stuff together, inevitably. So it is important. Yes.
Yeah, you're going to have to sit in a van and smell someone's dirty socks for 6 weeks. Is that really worth it? We're in the people business, not the sales business. So yeah, no, those connections are important. You mentioned that going to market in the Balkans or in Bulgaria is very different than for us in Western Europe, basically.
Yeah.
What are like the key differences to you, other than, there are no agents? I mean, people here have email, so they can just approach festivals as well. But what is the key difference there?
Well, there is, in a way, what is the difference between our markets, or why are we not getting to the Western market?
Those are both really good questions, actually, and we should definitely discuss both of them. How much time do we have left?
We have, I don't know, it's 20 to 5.
But let's start with why this market is different than the rest of Western Europe. Like, I'm really interested in your insights.
It's historic. That's the short answer. Historically, it's a market that was, completely closed until '89. Then we were going into transition. And Bulgaria, for example, is much more segregated from the rest of the Balkan countries. We have. We did not have any connection to any of the other countries around us. So Turkey, Romania, Greece, and then the whole ex-Yugoslavic countries, which are very much united. So that's Croatia, Slovenia, Macedonia, Serbia. They work much better together, and we were never able to penetrate that. I was just talking about this 3 days ago because there's a band from Bosnia which had a concert here, maybe 7,000 people. And I'm like, okay, this is incredible, but there's not a single Bulgarian band or artist that can sell 500 tickets in any of these countries in the Western Balkans. So it's partly political situation problems, and also the fact that our cultural diplomacy did not work out. And this is it's a process that is currently starting, and with all these projects, whatever, Upbeat or Most or everything that all of us locally trying to get involved in, is to overcome these problems and try to create a stronger regional market, because major companies and bigger, tech companies, music companies they are starting to come here. The reason is that Russia is completely blocked out and live music is not happening in Ukraine. So the Balkans is like an interesting thing that is starting to grow. So things are moving, but it's just so much different than it is in the Western Europe. And to switch to the second thing, why are Balkan artists not going a lot to the Western side of the continent? And it's not my personal opinion, just my personal opinion, but it's based on a lot of experience from me and other artists, is that we're very much geographically discriminated. And I am not the one who would like to just wave the flag and say, oh, we're discriminated, and we're not preaching that. Right. We're not preaching that, but that's a fact. And I can tell you a personal story. I was booked for a show in North Sea Jazz Club in Amsterdam in 2013, and in 2 weeks before my show, I had sold maybe around 200 tickets. So it was small. It wasn't a very big venue, so that was a good number. And it was going to be like a promotion of my album, which was recorded in Amsterdam with Dutch musicians and with musicians from the UK. And 10 days before the show, the promoter calls and is like, "Hey, I just read that you're a Bulgarian, and I don't have a Bulgarian accent." So they mix it up. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Bulgarian." And they're like, "Yeah, but we don't want the venue to be filled with some Bulgarians." I was 22 at the time.
Excuse me?
Yeah. That's a fact. I have a lot of stories like that, maybe 5 personal. And I'm like, I started to mumble, and then I realized many years later that he meant like the venue's going to be filled with some cockroaches, The thing that we experience, because being like the last wave of like immigrants and the cheap labor, is that we're labeled, and also the fact that people, when they hear Balkans, they just assume the Balkan music. So anything other than the Balkan music to them is like a very weird, strange animal, and hip hop, jazz, funk, soul, rock, indie, they're like indie band from Bulgaria, or what is this, funk band from Albania? They find it so strange. When they hear Balkans, they're just saying one thing. And this is discrimination par excellence.
And decidedly culturally arrogant, if I may add that,
It
actually.
It is. Yeah. And we've seen this happen a lot, and it's also the way they put us in a quota. So we need something from the Balkans. Yeah, we'll get the whatever, something just to fill the program. We're not getting much of equality. Just to give you a retrospect into numbers. So the Baltic region is what, maybe 5 million total. The Balkans is around 60. And in all the major European showcase festivals, from Eurosonic even to WOMEX, we're incomparably much less represented. Sometimes I hear I call it an excuse that there's not that many people who apply, which is to me not true. But, it's just when you look at the numbers and you see last year's Eurosonic or some other big conference where they have 6 or 7 bands for a population of, 3-4 million, and then just 1 or 2 for a whole region of 60, just quite doesn't add up,
So how do you think that everybody in this room or that we could change this?
Well, we got to talk about
inequality? I mean, yeah, addressing it is one thing, of course, but we mentioned Upbeat and Most and a bunch of other regional and international organizations. Are these the holy
tools?
grail of the solution here, or is there other work that can be done?
There's a lot of work that can be done, and it starts when people actually try to pay attention and look what's going on. Because for the whole Balkans, for 60 million region, there's not a single Spotify curator. There's no one who picks music from our region and puts it into any of the other. And this is completely unfair. We're European Union countries, both Bulgaria, Greece, Croatia. And you cannot literally penetrate Western market, and Spotify as a conglomerate and monopoly are trying to force you into paying for advertisements, And this is making it completely unfair because an artist from France invests 3,000 euros in producing a song, and an artist from Romania or Bulgaria, invests 3,000 euros to produce a song. But then just in France, there are 7,500 curators, and in Bulgaria, there's none. There's complete zero, So stuff like that, we need to talk about why these regions have to, these countries need to receive equal opportunities and attention, which is not just targeted in some specific genre or some specific subculture. We got to look at it as a whole.
So I'd like to actually flip that a little bit and go back to the artists that are in the room right here, right now. Nani, what do you think that an artist could do online or to promote itself? You have a very specific and very unique project that is decidedly, one of a kind. World music, is that, can we call it that? I'm not even sure. But anyway.
It doesn't matter.
What would your advice be to break out of that? And out of this apparent stigma that we have this problem for Balkan musicians?
I think the main thing we need to think about is flexibility, because we can talk, and I'm not saying this out of disrespect in any way, we can talk about discrimination. I am also discriminated very often because I'm Jewish, and I also get, the last time I booked a gig at the BIM House, they asked me to play on Christmas Eve, because that's when my audience is free. So I was
Excuse me?
Seriously, last December. But we can flip this game around and use this to our advantage, because we have to find ways to make our careers financially viable. Not necessarily, if we talk about the discrimination, if we concentrate on that, we are losing energy than to put into our own projects and to make it go forward. I moved to the Netherlands from Israel because I knew I will be better positioned in the Netherlands to work for my project and for my music. So I moved from my country to enable myself to go into the market. So if you want to penetrate into a market...
Yeah, I don't want to advise people to move. Please
into
don't move.
A position.
We're in a demographic crisis. Please, nobody moves anymore.
Well...
Come on. I cannot find a boyfriend.
I'm not necessarily advising
Please,
you
somebody
to
stay.
move. I'm not necessarily advising you to move, but
the speed dating version of this was earlier today, right?
If you are committed to your project, to your music. You have to do everything that can be done to support that. If that's your priority, then you have to act upon it. It doesn't mean that you have to move from your origin country, but you have to go to the conferences, you have to release the music. When you release it on Spotify, maybe there is no curator from the Balkan. Why don't you release it as if your hometown is Berlin? I release my releases as if they are based in Melbourne, Australia, because in Israel, there is no curator for Spotify. So you have to be flexible, and you have to think on your feet, and you have to make this work, because nobody will make it work for you. Nobody will care about your music as much as you do. And how do I play at the Kennedy Center and in the Library of Congress with a project of a language that only 6,000 people speak? How is that possible? Because I commit to it, because I work 16 hours a day to bring it forward. You can do the same. Just be strong. Just do it.
Ooh, just be strong. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Are we what time is it?
It's 10 to 5.
I have no idea when we started, actually.
I think 10 past.
10 past?
Yeah.
All right, so it's almost break time. I think that actually.
Do you want to have people ask some question before we take a break?
Yeah, let's do
the
that.
next
Let's do a
part,
little
yeah.
Q&A before
we
we
have to
take a
go,
break.
right?
Good
Yeah,
plan.
yeah.
Yeah, ask Ruth's questions, because she might have to leave.
Yeah, I gotta bounce.
Yeah, Ruth is not going to be with us for the second half of this panel. So if there's anything else that you would like to know about the topics that we discussed here, please ask your questions now.
So I want to ask Nani about it's a delicate topic, so you may not answer me, but still, do you manage to earn money only from music?
6 figures.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So I'm saying your music has to be financially viable, and it has to fit a community, a narrative. You have to reframe your marketing and around a niche that suits your music. This is the reason why I can play with my so-called unpopular project in all these amazing venues, because I found a community that relates to it.
And do you have because you have an agenda for 60 concerts per year, do you at the beginning of the year, do you say yourself 20% of them can be unpaid, the other one can be paid, blah, blah. Do you do some kind of calculations?
Yeah, I project my budget 5 years ahead. So I think about what can I afford myself this year and to pay my musicians and to pay for all the costs that I have now, but projecting 5 years forward. So if I get a gig that pays 600 euros per musician, let's say, and we are 3 people in the band, I will not pay my musicians 600 euros for that gig. I will tell them we're putting half of this in the casa, you get 300, and the next time we're going to play on the radio or on the television, you will get 300 paid, although they don't pay us. And this way I can keep a guarantee for you. I give you a fixed fee for all your gigs, and you don't have to think, am I going to play with you again next time? And I don't have to run and find other people for my band when it's necessary. When I travel to places, I always book several shows in the same location or maybe neighboring countries that are in driving distance. I almost never do a one-off show. Many times I hire musicians on location because that cut costs on flights. And sometimes I apply for grants for touring as well, but I only apply for grants when it's absolutely necessary, and I know that it's specifically grants that go for export. I never apply for grants for inside my own country. I live in the Netherlands. I don't want to exploit that market, because I think it's important that we all keep that intact and don't oversubscribe to a lot of funds, because we also have to give each other some chances and keep the market open to several groups of people. And the key is to diversify your income. So keep your royalties in check, subscribe to all the possibilities, monetize your YouTube, do crowdfunding. If you know Patreon, I don't have Patreon. I have my own version of Patreon on my own website, which is a streaming subscription. Instead of Spotify, I don't release most of my tracks to Spotify. I release singles from each album, and then I make people subscribe to my website to be able to stream it there. So a lot of these things, creating merchandise, release limited release items, parties for your supporters. We organized a party in Vinkeveen on a private island in Amsterdam. There is a lot of things you can do creatively to create a community around your music. Feel free to ask me later for more information. I can share it with you.
Do we have other questions?
Yeah.
Here in the back.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how you get your pricing right, moving from one country to another country, like we were talking about the Balkans, when we were talking about Netherlands or going to the States or something, I'm guessing you're not charging the same amount. And also, you're mentioning about splitting it in half and having a fund or the casa, as you mentioned, for your musicians, but then you're hiring musicians locally.
Sometimes.
When you hire someone locally, are they getting 100%? Or are they getting a percentage of
when I'm coming to a
new...
new country, so for instance, the States, I'm going to tour the States in September, we have 23 dates. Obviously, not all of these dates are paying the same amount of money. Some of them paying close to $10,000, and some of them pay $1,000. And you cannot keep paying your band by the percentage of what they get from the gig, because they're going to leave the band. And now getting people to the States from Europe is very difficult, because you got to create the opportunities of visas for them. And visas today to the States per person cost $3,500, not including lawyer costs. So I cannot bring my musicians from Europe to the States. This is why in the States I hire people locally. And then what I guarantee to them is a fee for the entire tour. So they are doing all of the dates with me, and then they get the fixed fee for the tour. They're being well taken care of, all their hotels, all their travel is being taken care of, their food. And I organize also on days off, like some things for us to do, that they're not going to feel like they're on their own and they're going to be like lost in the city. I take care of their food and accommodation also on these days, so they see that I take care of them well. I'm not like, okay, I'm cutting your costs on the gig, but I'm actually making it possible for us to tour for 6 years in a row together. I've been touring with the same musicians in the States since 2017. So you have to kind of maintain these relationships.
So where is my question is more, where is the market coming? Like, are you allowing the market to tell where the price is for a booking, or are you making the market based on wherever you think? Because if it's a unique product and you want to book in a different country, the market might not be exactly as what you've been working on before that. Is it just the... Obviously, you're spreading a certain percentages afterward, but how are you coming up with the exact number? And you don't want to level with everyone else because you're setting your own standards. But where are you finding the golden middle of that? Like, what's the median of that?
I think as musicians, we have to understand that when we're breaking into a new market, we will get paid less and we will get less opportunities. So when my first time I performed in the States in 2017, my entire show has been a gross income of 2,500 euros, and I had 14 dates, which was terrible. But I managed to sell out 70% of the concerts on that tour, because I used all the money and all the resources and all the time, 6 months I invested in that tour, because I knew it was a huge opportunity for my international positioning. So from the beginning, I thought, if I'm not losing money on this venture, this is a great opportunity. And from the mindset of I'm doing this professionally as good as I can, I just embarked on that tour. I did promotion. We sold out most of the venues. And then after doing that, when I came back to Jazz Ahead, which was only a couple months after that, everybody was asking me on the Jazz Ahead street, were you the artist that sold out the tour in the States? And I was like, I didn't advertise it like that. But people heard, because programmers talk to each other. You sold out the Kennedy Center. That person, the programmer, goes to Womex, and then they talk to everyone. And then you arrive to Jazz Ahead 3 months later, and they're like, yeah, book her.
Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you for everything. It's great.